Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Weekly Wigs, episode 8. Hope you are well. Thank you for joining me this evening, this morning, tomorrow, night, whatever day it is for you. Tonight, for me, it is Saturday night. Woo! Saturday night. And the tree is up. Come on the video pod, guys. Come watch the video because you'll see my delightful little tree. My beautiful little Christmas tree. I've put her up today and I'm feeling bloody festive. It is the 29th of November, which I feel is a pretty acceptable time to put up a tree. I tend to always have it fall around the last weekend in November. Don't ask me why it's always fallen like that for me over the last few years, but I think it's just a case of having a free weekend to myself. You know what it gets like over Christmas season? It's just busy times, festivities, family trips, friends come in, pop into the Christmas markets, maybe you want to go do your Christmas shopping. So I found myself this weekend having some moments to myself and I thought, bloody perfect. And it was a really horrible rainy day today. Was not really in the mood to go out, so I thought we're gonna have a nice little home cozy day. She's been domestic goddess cleaning me flat, and it's always just a nice feeling when everything's looking clean and tidy. And then I just set up a little space for my beautiful little tree. The lighting is a little bit funny on the screen, but I can't really do anything about that. It's just the twinkly effect coming from the lights on the tree. But I'm actually a multicoloured lights kind of gal when it comes to the trees. I know people have got their preferences of what you choose, whether it's a themed colour. Some people go for the red and gold, maybe a little white coloured tree, silver. But for me, multicoloured Christmas lights always symbolise like a childhood Christmas feeling. It's probably because those are just the colour lights that we grew up having on my tree. But I do feel like symbolically that actually is quite a common thing, isn't it, with Christmas decorations? Like maybe it stoops in tradition of it being multicoloured lights. I'm not actually entirely sure, but I personally am one for the multicoloured lights. It's giving rainbow, it's giving joy. And 'tis the season of joy after all. So, yeah, we've got a nice little collection of baubles going on. This little angel that I'm pointing at the top of the tree, my dear Nan, may she rest in peace, she knitted. She used to do loads of knitting, as most Nans kind of do at that age. And she used to do loads of knitting. She used to knit like nativity sets. She actually used to knit like baby hats and little baby cardigans to give to the maternity unit in the local hospital, which is really nice. So she would just knit away to pass the time. And she did make a little nativity set as well. And then one year she happened to make like a little collection of sort of Christmassy themed decorations for the tree. So that would be the little angel that you can see there. You won't quite see it, but there's some other ones like a Santa Claus, a snowman, like a child singing carols, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, when my Nan was like clearing out some of her stuff a few years ago, I managed to nab the little collection from her. And I'm actually so happy that I've got that now, because it's like when your loved ones pass away and your grandparents eventually pass away, it's like it's nice to have something to remember them by and always have like a part of them with you. So I kind of have lots of things on my tree that feel sort of symbolic of memories and locations and people. And so that's my little fun little knitted friends on the tree over there. Have you got your tree up, guys? Has anyone been in the festive spirit? Do you care about Christmas? I mean, honestly, I'll be real. For the most part, I'm fairly indifferent to Christmas. I enjoy the regular activities. I don't mind one or two Christmas movies. My standards are The Holiday and Home Alone. Sometimes Muppet Christmas Carol, if we're feeling crazy. But other than that, I can't say I'm like, woo! I'm not absolutely wild of Christmas. I get a bit bored of it after a while. The Christmas songs on repeat, the madness and the busyness of like town and markets and shops. I'm just a bit like, girl, I just want to relax, you know. I like staying cozy. I like having my tree up. I like having relaxing, cozy, calm vibes. I'm usually down for it for like December time while things are winding down. you're in work, you're just counting down the days till you get to go on some leave. Like, I like that feeling of like reward for Christmas. And obviously, ultimately, like family time. That's the most obviously important thing, an element of Christmas for me. But also like, so it could just be a bit overwhelming sometimes, can't it? Like, I feel like a lot of people feel like that about Christmas. Is you're meant to feel this pressure of like everything's glitzy and cute and great and magical, and there's snow in the air and snowflakes everywhere and festivities of joy and singing and carols. When in reality, everyone's just a bit burnt out. Everyone's just a bit bloody tired and we just all want a break. So, yeah, maybe that's just the adult version of what you feel about Christmas as you age. Understandably, as a child, it's like make-believe and magic and merriment. And actually, it's just kind of nice seeing it through the eyes of children, I think, as you get older. So, like, for me, like, my niece is 2, and it's like, we're getting into the territories now of like, we got to write Santa a note, got to write him a letter. And it's just like, I love it for that kind of stuff, you know. So, yeah, Christmas festivities. We are trying to get into it just a tad. I'm here for the tree. I'm here for the cozy vibes. But I will say, I made the worst mistake last night. I totally forgot that it was Black Friday. I popped into town after work because I needed to get something in the shops. I think it was like a remaining Christmas gift. Oh, and it was heaving. It was heaving. It was like chock-a-block. The trams were rammed. Everyone was streaming into the markets, and I was just like, oh, girl, we are rapid. We're getting in and out here. We're going to pop into M&S, get some little picky bits for me tea, and then I'm going home because it's too much. It's just too much. And I generally avoid any form of going into town on like weekends and Saturdays as of late because it's just hell. What's that Gemma Collins meme? It's hell out there. It's hell. It truly is. It truly is. But anyway, she's just been tootling about, having a chill little day today. But you know what? There's not really any way to segue this from Christmas to AI. But that is the topic of today because I have just been sort of chilling on my sofa this evening, watching some telly. And I was scrolling through my TikTok. As you guys may or may not know, like, she's just a content girly out here, okay? Like, I'm trying to push stuff online. I've been on TikTok for a few years. I was on TikTok before it was TikTok. Thank you very much. Used to be called Musical.ly. And I'm just like, you know me, I'm a content girly. I like to make videos and put music stuff up and singing and lip syncing and all this stuff, right? And it's all part of a bigger thing to obviously try and push the content out there. I'd love to make this podcast like a full-time job. That's the true dream. Monetize it, content creation, all the rest of it, right? I wouldn't go as far as saying hashtag influencer, but it's just being an internet person and trying to make money and get content and creativity on some form of platform. Because these days it's kind of TikTok, YouTube, or nothing. So she has been grafting away the last few years, and I obviously upload lots of random videos to my TikTok page. I happen to do live streaming from time to time. Mainly it's just singing and chatting like this to like people who will watch me. I have got some cute little girlies who are some loyal followers and have been watching me for a few years, which is really sweet and nice. Trying to make like a little community of people. But TikTok has its difficulties, which you will have heard me and my friend Amber, who was on the pod like 2 episodes ago, and we had like a full debate about just being creative girlies, trying to put our stuff online, being small-time creators and all this kind of stuff. And it does come with its struggles. But one thing that I discovered this evening, which really does grind my gears and gets me thinking into this larger topic of technology and AI, is the fact that on TikTok, you actually have to deal with like AI robot technology that tries to scan your content for any potential violations. I'm sure we've probably heard of terms like community guidelines and terms and conditions on social media platforms. And obviously you have to be careful to a degree of what you post and making sure obviously that you don't have any like extreme content on there. And so a few months ago, back in the summer in July, I had my first ever experience of being banned from my live access, and the TikTok platform essentially gave me like a warning claiming that I'd violated the community guidelines when all I did was sing a song on a live stream from the Pocahontas film, the Disney Pocahontas film, and had a brief chat about the film. And for some bizarre reason, it took that as like hate speech. And I was like, what? And I was so perplexed at the time, and that had never happened to me before in all my years of internet life and uploading things to YouTube and all the rest of it. Like, I'm really just putting innocent content out here for the most part, do you know what I mean? So I tried to appeal it. There was like this whole appeal system, and it automatically rejected it like almost immediately. And I just thought, I'm so sorry. That is not normal. First of all, the speed of that appeal reject, that's clearly not human looking at it. And then second to that, even just obviously the context of what they're trying to ban me for just made no sense. So I really just had no tools and no power to change that circumstance at the time. I just had to deal with the warning on my account. They would give me back my access like a week or so later, and that was the end of the matter. I just thought, well, that's just bloody ridiculous. What do you mean that can just happen at the drop of a hat and you have no person to speak to about it? It's not even like you're dealing with a customer support agent or anything like that. So that was a bit of an eye-opening experience in dealing with like AI robots and tools and automation services. I just thought, well, I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. And now this evening, I've just looked again and I've seen that my account now has another strike. It now has a full strike on my account from a video that I posted from Bonfire Night, which was a few weeks ago. There was like some madness going on in my street near where I live, where there was just like crazy teens in the park, like throwing fireworks and all the rest of it. And I happened to be like streaming it at the time and had a video of it. And I was at the time like shocked and like condemning these stupid teens, like, oh my God, what are they doing with all these fireworks? There's far too much nonsense that goes on Bonfire Night. It went super viral on my TikTok. And obviously it's been up for weeks with no issues. And then all of a sudden this evening, they've turned around and gone, no, it's against community guidelines. And they've like removed the video, and it's all of this stuff. It's like, it sounds so boring, but it's just like, these are the really nonsensical things that you have to deal with when you're like a small time creator and you're dealing with certain platforms. Like, I understand that there are clearly community guidelines and rules for a reason, and so there should be, because there shouldn't just be an endless stream of dangerous content online for potentially young people to see, and I fully agree with that. But it's just like, because you're not dealing with humans reviewing what the actual footage is or what the context to any of it is, they just use this sort of automated technology to just presume it's the worst thing. And you have no say in it. And it's so infuriating, because it's like, I can tell you a multitude of examples of things on bloody TikTok platforms, for example, that are so insanely dangerous and against community guidelines, like literally full pornography. Like, gentle reminder of the time that we literally watched that Charlie Kirk get assassinated, would guarantee you to this day it's still available to view in all its gory on the TikTok platform and other social media platforms. And you see that for yourself and you think, hey, that like shouldn't be on the internet. That's pretty bad. And you see that it's been uploaded for months or years and you think, well, meanwhile, I'm sat on a live stream talking about Pocahontas and I get banned. And it's like, the disparity in the rules, shall we say, is just a bit messed up. And the frustration of it is that you know it's not a human that you're dealing with. And so you have to go through this palaver of having to make appeals and hope that the robot on the second time round doesn't, like, ban you again. And it got me just thinking about the absolute craziness of AI these days. And funnily enough, it's a type of conversation that I've actually been having quite a lot recently, not just with like friends and family, but even in my new workplace. I've noticed that, like, as a millennial and being surrounded by lots of similar people my age, we were kind of half joking about it, but being quite serious of like, no, actually, I think AI is getting quite dangerous. And it's like, we were talking about, are we just becoming grannies because we're like 30s now? Like, are we the equivalent of how our grandparents' generation were really resistant against phones and smartphones and like the internet? Like, is that our version of that, about how reluctant we are to AI? Like, and I'll be real, a lot of my friends, like people my age, we're all pretty on the same page of like, okay, AI has like some perks and great technology development is great, but on the overall, it feels dodgy. It feels like it's taken over our lives in very negative ways. And I'm just like, what do the Gen Zers think about this? Is it just millennials? Are we all just like, whoa, 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 oh, too much change? And it's weird, actually, for millennials, because considering our generation, we know all about advancement in technology and adapting and growing up to a world of social media and smartphones. And I would say not being resistant to that. But there's something about AI that does feel like a little step too far for me. And so, yeah, I'm just gonna get into my general thoughts and feelings on the rise and this kind of scary power of AI. I'm gonna reference a couple of articles and a couple of things I find online, like some stats and some history, just so we can add some context to it. I'm not a historian. I'm not a full professional on this topic. Just want to make that very clear before we go much further. But I think it's definitely an interesting topic of debate to get your thoughts going, and actually it's just interesting to learn about other people's opinions on it. So do be sure to let me know in any of the comment boxes on any of the platforms that you may watch or listen to this to. And let's get into it. So I feel like we probably need to start on a very brief history of AI, because I was actually looking this up before I started recording, and I didn't realise that technically AI, which is artificial intelligence, actually began over 70 years ago, which is kind of crazy. I have always been under the assumption that AI as we know it now only really came about in the last 10 years or something. But I guess that is not correct. I stand corrected. So I'm just going to provide some information that I found on a BBC learning article. And it's called AI, 15 Key Moments in the Story of Artificial Intelligence. I won't go through every single point, but just give you a brief intro. So the quest for artificial intelligence began over 70 years ago with the idea that computers would one day be able to think like us. Ambitious predictions attracted generous funding, but after a few decades, there was little to show for it. In the last 25 years, new approaches to AI, coupled with advances in technology, means that we now may be on the brink of realizing those pioneers' dreams. And one of those pioneers, which is quite a familiar name, most people would probably know who this is, was Alan Turing. Shout out local Manchester institutional hero. He's got his own statue in Manchester, Mr. Alan Turing, in the gay village. The timeline of this article gives me a starting point of approximately 1943, and it talks about how World War II had triggered some fresh thinking in the world of AI. World War II brought together scientists from many disciplines, including the emerging fields of neuroscience and computing. In Britain, mathematician Alan Turing and neurologist Gray Walter were two of the bright minds who tackled the challenges of intelligent machines. They traded ideas in an influential dining society called the Ratio Club. Ooh. Walter built some of the first ever robots. Turing went on to invent the so-called Turing test, which set the bar for an intelligent machine, a computer that could fool someone into thinking they were talking to another person. So that's kind of a key milestone in history there of where a lot of conversations around artificial intelligence began. And then basically this article kind of goes on to show a multitude of moments in history where certain technologies had progressed. They reference in 2002 is when the first robot was designed for the home, which was essentially one of these well, actually people use them now, don't they? These robot vacuum cleaners, those ones that do the cleaning for you in the house. And then obviously it takes you up till about the 2014s, 15s. And then it starts talking about driverless cars and all this stuff, right? So that's sort of your general history of moments that have clearly happened throughout the years when it comes to artificial intelligence. But I think it's fair to say that the majority of us are only really familiar or understanding of the term of AI in, honestly, I'd say the last 5 to 10 years, because there has been what they call an AI boom. And that apparently began in 2017. So in 2017, this is where we began to see what we know it as ChatGPT, but the official term for that is something called a large language model. And so a large language model is a type of artificial intelligence that can understand, generate, and manipulate human language by processing vast amounts of text data. So essentially, I think in 2017, there was a bit more transformation and progression in the technology that they would use for these large language models. And then it says here, according to Wikipedia, which I know is a little bit iffy, but circa 2020 is when OpenAI, which is one of these big tech AI companies, that's when they essentially released like what is now known as like ChatGPT. I think it had lots of different names before, so it was known as like GPT-3 before. So that's where it all became much more integrated, I think, into our lives. And then actual ChatGPT that like we know and we use now for free apparently was made available in 2022. So that's why it probably feels much more recent to us, because of those things and how much that takes over our society now and the world we live in. But I guess obviously it turns out that artificial intelligence as a whole has been like a work in progress for many years. But this AI boom, I think this is where it's just such a huge topic of debate these days, because it is kind of crazy like how much it's infiltrated our everyday lives in like a very sudden growth, like particularly in the last 5 years. I don't even remember the first time I understood what AI was or what any of it even meant, or when I even started thinking about it as a discussion like this. I think obviously the earliest thing that I could probably ever remember was someone mentioning ChatGPT at some point in life. I personally never took any interest in it or used it myself. And I think it was only one of my friends who might have used it like sometime in the last 2 years. And then before you knew it, it was like, oh, I found that on ChatGPT. Oh, I did ask ChatGPT. And then all of a sudden, more and more people in my life started referencing the fact that they had checked something on ChatGPT. And I thought, what's everyone going on about this ChatGPT all the time? Like, I actually truly don't understand what's going on. All I understood was that it's some kind of like chatbot or something like that, right? And so the only time I started using ChatGPT was literally, I think maybe in the last 6 to 7 months. Up until this point, I had never used it before. I always feel like I'm low-key late to the party anyway in most things, so maybe people were on it well before me, but I just never really felt like I had a need or a desire to look into it or use it. And it literally wasn't until I started getting into the world of job applications. As you may recall from previous episode, I'd mentioned that it had taken me an entire year as of late to find a new job. And it was such a challenging time. I mean, the current economy in the market is like pretty crazy. And obviously all over the place, and it still is like it now. And I was just doing the old school way, like I always have, like create a CV, work off the template that I previously had. I used to use LinkedIn a little bit and copy information from there. And I'm pretty much just off the dome trying to think of application answers. Like, to be honest, there was probably a reason why I was flopping left, right, and central for the first few months, because I've never been the best at trying to articulate what I want to say in words. I feel like I'm a lot better at saying things than I am at writing things sometimes. And so there was a few periods and a few months where I just wasn't getting anywhere. I was getting no interviews, rejects. And I'm just thinking, this has never happened to me in my life before. Like, I've done very well throughout my career in getting new jobs. I've taken each experience as it's come and learned from those jobs and then taken it on to other places. And I always used to perform like really well in interviews and feel really confident in that area of trying to find a new job if I wanted to. And then I just found myself at a complete standstill, and I was just like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. And I mean, you know, albeit that's not like a massive indicator of my merit throughout that time, I knew that. And I knew that it was the circumstances of just the economy and the really competitive job market. But still, there was just something that was feeling wrong and feeling like this isn't normal. We've got some additional barriers here that I don't think are helping any new job searcher, and I can't quite get to grips with what it is. And it wasn't until I started speaking to some people and then the words AI and bots came into the chat, and I thought, hold on a damn minute. And one of my friends and old colleagues was telling me about how in his current job, he had just attended a seminar that was all about the use of AI in recruitment. And I was like, excuse me? You're telling me AI and robots and technology are now scanning applications? I mean, and I was horrified. And I don't even think I'd ever thought about that concept up until this point, because I was like, what do you mean? Of course humans in recruitment teams are the ones checking our applications. Like, what do you mean technology is scanning the answers? No, turns out that is like a very true thing that's happening in this world. I'm just looking at a statistic here from a website called the Institute of Student Employers, and it provides some information about recruiters using AI. And it says, a LinkedIn survey found that while 57% of talent acquisition professionals are exploring or experimenting with Gen AI tools, 11% had already integrated them into their processes. Data shows that the arrival of ChatGPT has more than doubled the use of artificial intelligence in the early careers recruitment process. And so my friend said that in this presentation, this seminar that he went to, that they were actually telling them like tips and tricks of how to essentially get your application picked up correctly by the technology. One of those is ensuring that you essentially throw a bunch of keywords in that recruiters like to hear, like jargon, corporate language, and skill sets and skill-based words. Some people type that onto their CV and then change the font to white so that you can't actually see the text on the document in the hopes that the machine and the robots will pick up those keywords. And then another thing that he was telling me is that he was saying that on all these job websites like LinkedIn, Indeed, Total Jobs, like if you use their internal application upload buttons, and if you've essentially been rejected quite a few times, which, let's be real, is the norm in this current state of economy, then essentially it's a little bit like a credit score. He was told from the seminar presenter that the system sort of starts to recognise that you've almost been applying too much to a degree and seems to think that you get marked down for that. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is just all very horrifying to hear. And it's whilst I'm all for technology being used to help resources and time and efficiencies and all the rest of it, like, what do you mean humans are just not even scanning your basic CV anymore? Like, it's actually so disheartening. And I'm absolutely convinced that alongside all of the other factors of the job market, I am convinced that my struggles in getting a job most definitely will have technology and the current AI processes as a part to play. Like, I have no doubt about that at all. So when I discovered all this information, part of me just thought, well, do you know what? Respectfully, maybe it's time I start using the tools back on these people, because even though I'm not here for like any sort of, I'm not going to plagiarize, I don't want to cheat. I just don't really see the purpose in that, because ultimately, if you potentially get successful, you still have to talk to a human and prove your abilities at some point. So there's only so much that cheating and getting answers from ChatGPT can really get you. But I thought, you know what, let me at least try and use some of the basic tools and see if it makes any difference to my applications. And because I know I'm not that great at articulating some of the stuff that I want to say in words, maybe this can just help me structure some basic sentences or paragraphs for application questions. So I started doing that. And in fairness, when I started reading through things, I thought, oh, this is actually quite impressive. It's very quick, very responsive. I'm not totally resistant to what it's giving me right now, and I'm willing to give it a go and see if these tools are any good. So as time went on, I started restructuring some of my answers and started to provide those into my applications. Still, they didn't always work. I still got a lot of rejects, even after that point. I got my dad, who was definitely an expert in his career of working in higher positions throughout his life, got him to do a full whiz over my application and my CV. My statements were looking polished, and I thought, okay, this is really the best I can give at this point. And again, to be honest, it still took a really long time for anything to ever come back to me. And that was one opportunity that arose. One opportunity, one interview. Thankfully, I got that job from that one interview, because everything else until that point was like, nah, rejected. You got rejected. Yeah, rejected. You got rejected. It was so depressing. I just want to say, I actually feel so much sympathy and empathy to anyone out there right now who is still, God bless you, applying for a job. I can't imagine how excruciating it must still feel. There will be people out there that will have been applying for nearly 2 years. I was applying for an entire year, and I only got one interview, one opportunity, one chance. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You gotta. I'm getting really distracted today by like wanting to say lyrics every 5 seconds. Anyway, but it's true. It was given like, yo, mom spaghetti, knees are weak, arms are heavy. It was literally given, I'm on the stage, this is my moment, the pressure is huge, I need this opportunity. But anyway, no, I really do feel bad for people applying for jobs because it's not fun. It's really horrific out there. And look at everything that we're contending with. Like, it's just, oh, it's difficult. But finally, when my moment came and I finally got that interview, I was like, okay, maybe it is time to consult ChatGPT one more time, just for that little extra nudge, a little structure in some of my answers, just to give me some ideas. It did help me think of examples. I already had examples in my head for interviews. You know, when you got to say like, what do they call them? Like competency-based questions where you have to say like, think of a time that you did this, this, and this. And like, I've always used a lot of examples in all my previous jobs. Like, I have them to hand, but again, it was trying to think of that and to articulate that into a structured answer, which is what they like to get from you in an interview. I thought, let me just give ChatGPT a little consultation just to help me word what I'm trying to say. And I will say again, I do think that really helped me. It did help me articulate things way better. So for that, I am thankful to ChatGPT. And I'm not sitting here and fully slating all of the potentials of AI and its technology. I think it definitely has got some pros. Those are some specific examples from myself. I will also say I am quite the fan of these. As an ASMR girly, have you seen these mad videos? They're like AI generated ASMR videos of like people spreading things on toast, but it'll be like, obviously, it almost looks like cartoonish. So it'll be like a jar filled with miniature cans of Coke or something, and he pours them out on the toast and it makes like a little sound. And obviously that's not real. Like, you don't spread little cans of Coke onto toast, right? But there's just something really satisfying about it. And now my algorithm is locked onto it. So whenever she's scrolling for a little ASMR moment, I get the toast spread videos and I'm very pleased. I still like traditional ASMR people too, actual humans, very much appreciate. But I will say thank you to AI for creating those videos because they do something for my brain. They really do. And I will also give ChatGPT a little shout out for this podcast. Because I'm not going to lie, when I was in the midst of setting up my logo and trying to create a brand for this podcast, I'm not a graphic designer. I don't have the resources and the tools. I certainly don't have the money to pay someone to draw it for me. But I was really trying to find a way to essentially take a picture of me and my silhouette and my face and to just sort of outline it and sketch it a little bit like a cartoon or an animation. And I was scouring the internet trying to find tools and ways that I could do that before I even consulted ChatGPT. And as I was struggling through finding a way to do this, two different people in my life were like, why don't you ask ChatGPT? I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that, to be honest. Sure, I'll give it a go. And lo and behold, it really did come through clutch. And it's the logo that you see now with my little face. I mean, it didn't create the entire logo. Like, I still did the majority of the elements myself. It was just literally the picture of my face that I needed help with. And all I had to do was basically upload the photo where it kept, like, the actual photo of me. And I just asked it to create, like, an outline of it as, like, black and white, sort of like sketched, drawn image of me. And it did. I was like, oh, this is great. It's just a bit like using editing software, but someone's magically pressed a button and done it for you. So, you know, I was slightly grateful as someone who was just like a small little creator and really doesn't have the funds to try and recruit like a person to do that, because trust me, I would have loved to have done that too. But like, the chips are the chips, you know? So those are my praise points for ChatGPT and AI technology, okay? I think it's wonderful that it can help you with some basic things like that, okay? But I'm going to be honest, the cons list, I think, way supersedes it as of right now. And I'm going to go through a little list of some of my cons and I'll back it up with some stats. So obviously, as I've kind of just mentioned already, it's the whole thing about job applications and AI essentially scanning your CVs. I think that's a full scam. I think it's really insulting, not only to recruitment agencies. I'm so sorry. Is that not literally your entire job? To look at people's skill sets, bring them to interview, find people that you want to hire. I mean, that's taken away a part of your job, which I just find baffling. But then it's also just really unfair on the applicant who's trying to put their best self forward and spending so many days and hours grafting away at applications, perfecting CVs. I mean, we're taught this from school. Like, they teach you how to make a CV, how to go into the working world. You do everything you're supposed to do, and a human who wants to hire you to their company is the one that should be reading it. And then if you're lucky to get offered the opportunity to have a talking discussion in interview from that point onwards, then you can delve in even deeper. But the fact that you can't even get to that point now without like a machine judging you, I just think it's really unfair and it puts you at a massive disadvantage. I mean, I understand that to a degree, a lot of these recruitment agencies are probably using a lot of technology to actually counteract people that use ChatGPT and AI to essentially be fraudulent in their applications, which I understand is like a valid concern. And you want to make sure people are being themselves and not plagiarizing their entire employment history. But it's sort of like, it's a give and take thing, isn't it? So yeah, that whole thing I just think's a bit of a scam. And I think it's very sad that we're in a world now where it's just like, we can't just use humans to do that like they have for centuries on end. But there we go. Next to that, one of my next cons, and I've experienced this many a time, is sort of customer services and companies providing you with AI chatbots. Now, chat services with companies and customer service is a relatively new function over the last 10 or so years. I don't think chat functions were always available in most companies. It's always been your traditional, you have to pick up a phone and call a call centre, or you have to send a letter in the post, like really old school. Some companies will let you deal with them via email, and now more so, companies are pretty standardised with chat options. I can actually remember a time when I was working in the call centres in customer service very briefly, and I was part of a chat team, which was all very new at that time, because for the most part, it was just you pick up a call. You're in a call centre. That's the point. You take calls from customers. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, there's new elements to play with here. Now we can actually just type our answers out to people. And I'm all for a chatbot. Sometimes you get a lot quicker answers instead of having to wait 30 minutes on hold on a telephone, you know? But again, this was when chatbots were actually monitored by real people. And I saw that for myself working in the call centres, knowing colleagues that are literally physically sat there typing away as a customer service agent on a chat room. And now there's a whole other level to it where it's like you see a little chat function on a website and you think, oh, great, I'm going to go chat to someone. I won't have to stay on the hold music for 30 minutes. Hopefully I'll get an answer pretty soon. Hold up now there, Mary. You ain't coming through until you answer all these AI-generated questions. Are you a customer? Yes. Are you from the United Kingdom? Yes. Oh, and you I'm sure we've all experienced this. And you have to click through a million options. And it's actually quite the same on phones now. You call up call centres these days and it's 1,000 menu options. Press 1, press 3, press 2. Oh, it drives me so mad. I'm just oh my God, just put me through to a human, please, 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 please. So I've now learned over the years that when it comes to chat bots or whatever you want to call them, you actually have to physically write the words speak to human or speak to agent. That is the only way that most of these AI-generated machines recognize that you're trying to speak to a human. So whenever those chat things ask you to answer those pre-populated questions, do you have an order number? Do you have this? I ignore all of them. I just go speak to agent, speak to agent, speak to agent. And eventually, when you've said it 3 times, it just immediately transfers you through to an agent. And then you can get into that information. And it's why are we having to jump absolute hoops here to get to people? That I just don't understand it. So that is a real irk of mine. Just in adult life when you're trying to get shit done. I know customer service can be an absolute drag. I've worked in it myself. It's harder being on the other side when you're the customer just trying to get an answer. It's all just a frustrating time. We all know that, right? But how about we don't make it more difficult with pre-populated, I'm Jerry, the chatbot assistant. How can I help? No, Jerry, we don't want to chat to you. We want to chat to a human on the end of the line. Thank you. I can't deal with it, Darren. My hair is frazzled. Hey, I'm doing a lot of Gemma Collins references today. Shout out Gemma Collins. Oh God. I realise that most of this segment now is just going to sound like me being an absolute Karen and just complaining and ranting about anything, but I can't be the only one, and I don't think I am the only one, because I've had these conversations with like friends and colleagues and all of it as of late. But I wish someone would listen to the masses, stop making us suffer. It's so annoying. So these are all kind of things so far that I would say they are cons, but they are more just irritants. They're just annoying things, but they're not like deeply traumatizing or impacting my life. But one thing that I can imagine would very much traumatize and impact your life, which is a really scary, scary part of AI that is emerging in a trend as of late, is the scams and deepfake. So if you've ever heard of the word deepfake, then you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what it is, I will give you a quick definition. A deepfake is a video, audio, or image that has been manipulated using artificial intelligence to convincingly impersonate a person or a scene. So it's essentially just a word for someone making a fake video that looks and sounds like you. And I had a little search on some deepfake statistics, and I found some interesting stuff. Deepfake files surged from 500,000 in 2023 to a projected 8 million in 2025. That's terrifying. Fraud attempts spiked by 3,000% in 2023. The volume of deepfake content is projected to increase by 900% annually. By 2024, deepfake incidents increased by 257% to 150 incidents. In the first quarter of 2025 alone, there were 179 deepfake incidents, surpassing the total for all of 2024 by 19%. Fraud attempts with deepfakes have increased by 2,137% over the last 3 years, and deepfake videos increased by 550% between 2019 and 2024. Now, there's a whole list of stats I could go through here. If anybody wants this, I found this on the KeepNet Labs website. This website is a cybersecurity company that provides lots of information and platforms about all things human risk management and AI-powered training and all this kind of stuff. So that's where I found that information. I mean, I'm sure this information sits in many places, but this is just the particular article that I wanted to reference. Because just, you read through these statistics and they're just terrifying. And I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked that these are the stats, because I feel like all we hear about these days are a lot of news stories and incidents, awful ones of people using deepfake technology to make revenge porn. And again, just to explain in case no one even knows what that is, revenge porn is the act of sharing private sexual photos or videos of another person without their consent. So, I mean, that's a general issue in crime and in sexual-based crime, has been for some time, even without all this technology, of people actually using real-life videos and photos. But now people are using this deepfake AI technology as a way to pretend that they have pornographic content of someone, and that's not even real. I found an interesting statistic on the United Nations Women's page here, and it's talking about, is AI creating new forms of violence against women? And one thing that came up that I thought was quite a startling statement and bit of information is that image-based abuse through deepfakes, according to research, 90 to 95% of all online deepfakes are non-consensual pornographic images. Just let that sink in. 90 to 95% of all online deepfakes are non-consensual pornographic images. That sentence is wild. And around 90% of those images depict women. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So it's absolutely clear to see that that is something that is majorly targeted women. That's alarming in itself. And it's just really quite scary and sad to think that we could all be so easily victim to something like that. You could have a really abusive, horrible ex-partner. You could be in a really vulnerable situation. It might just be a stranger. It might be no one that you know. The reality is that the majority of us are online in some way, shape or form. Even if you're not that huge on social media, you've probably got an image of yourself on Google. You maybe just have a LinkedIn page. Maybe you were in a news article once years ago and it happens to be on the internet. It's not that hard to obtain one singular photo of any human in this world and the world that we live in. And it's quite terrifying how this AI technology can create such realistic, scary images that can be used against you and you have no power or control over it. And obviously seeing just like the rising trend clearly in how much worse it's getting is something that fills me with worry. I just think, oh my God, just the thought of even if I had a child right now or a young girl specifically and just being so terrified of what people are exposed to. It's frustrating because it's like we shouldn't have to feel restricted. Like at the end of the day, I'm like an internet personality, if we really want to call it that. I'm choosing to put my content on the internet and my face and my information to a certain degree. And for all I know, someone could take my information and completely deepfake me. They could make a video of me saying some like racist shit that I didn't say and could like ruin my life. But I don't like that it makes us feel like prisoners almost, because we should all have a right to express ourselves, whether that's online. Maybe you're more of a traditional media person. What if you want to be a journalist? What if you want to make documentaries for a living? What if you want to be a filmmaker? You can have a private life if you want to. Not everyone chooses to share their opinions and things online. But the fact is that anyone at any time could take some very basic information from you, whether you're an online personality or not, and create something to damage you and threaten you. And it's like, I hate that the power of that technology is becoming like a threat to us as humans in like more ways than one. So that's my big concerns, to be perfectly honest, is it's not just the annoyance of like customer service chatbots and job applications, right? That to me feels like at this point, sadly, quite minuscule things. But it's the genuine threat to like your reputation, your privacy, intimacy, things like that. Like, and then on top of that, scams and fraud. Oh my God. I saw a TikTok the other day and I made sure to share this with my family group chat just to make them aware. And we should probably all be making all of our loved ones and friends aware. But like the most recent AI scam, and this to me is like the really dystopian, crazy side to AI of how they can manipulate and use it. It's this scam where basically they can take the voice of like a loved one and ring you up, just like how you get cold calls from scam marketing companies now, where they obviously get your number from some endless database of information. And you get those like, oh, we heard you were in a car accident. Come on, let's make a claim. Like, we've been experiencing that for years. Most people have, obviously. I literally had one today. It's like an automated voice message. Hello, we'd like to hang up. You know, we all do that, right? But now it's like another level of sophistication where like they will call you, and it's this scam that they were saying about in the TikTok is like it's an immediate screaming, crying voice of like a relative of yours, like a really believable sounding voice where they've captured maybe audio that could be very easily available online in most people's cases of them talking, maybe from a video or something like that. And they're able to create a talking automated voice. And then they use that to try and scam people. And I mean, you know, for the most part, I'm sure anyone with a little bit of common sense could probably try their best to pick up that that's probably not real. But like, it's pretty scary how accurate AI can make these things is the point, isn't it? Like the deepfake pictures. I mean, you see loads of AI content if you just scroll through your FYP on TikTok and it's like, how did they make that? That looks exactly like, you know, they do like silly videos of celebrities like saying stuff or singing songs or something. And you think, oh my God, that is so accurate. But then you find out it's an AI generated video and you think, whoa, that's like a step too far for me. And to know that scammers are now using that form of technology to genuinely scam vulnerable people in like awful circumstances too, like using a relative's voice to draw, that's just like, a level of sinister that is beyond just scamming someone for their money. Like, that's another real worry. It's the fact that they can clone a voice. What? You can clone a voice, you can clone a face. That's quite terrifying what you can do with that technology. And I think that's actually something that I can imagine companies are having to battle with now when it comes to data hacks and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I literally just this week had to do a training course in my new job about AI and learning how to spot the fakes and all the rest of it. So, it's just very scary territory that we're in, I think, where it goes from like, oh, this is some helpful technology that can maybe help you with an essay or help you write an application answer, and oh, look at that, I can do some creative stuff too. Oh, I can find out an answer for a historical fact I've always wanted to know. Hey, ChatGPT, can you tell me about the history of World War II? Like, there's lots of fun parts to it, I'm sure. But the way that these technologies can just create a whole world of chaos and pandemonium and putting people's lives at threat, taking all your details, taking away your privacy, it gives me the heebie-jeebies, I'm not gonna lie. And the more and more I keep hearing about these like horror stories and seeing those statistics, and you read it a lot in the news now, like, it just leaves me feeling very unsettled. And you know what? The most unsettling thing of all that I heard on a podcast in recent weeks, I listened to The News Agents, which is a really good podcast if you're into sort of politics and news. And one of the presenters, he's called Lewis Goodall. He's like a news journalist. And he did a special episode on AI, and he attended this sort of like big AI conference in America somewhere. And he interviewed some guy who was like an American sort of CEO for this AI company. I can't remember the name of it, and I don't have it in front of me, but it was a company who was providing essentially a subscription-based service where you could access AI recordings of like your loved ones that have died. Oh my God, like that's just what? That is like some Black Mirror shit. How awful. Like you're preying basically on someone's real life grief. And what it claims to do is like, if you provide us with recordings of like your loved ones, we can keep that and turn it into a technology a little bit like a ChatGPT where you can like talk to it, and then your loved one's voice will talk back to you as if it's like having a real life in moment interaction with you. And I just think that is really quite disturbing. Like, I don't think that's normal. I don't know how people are sort of justifying that. And we'll give that service to you for $30 a month. Like, it's just like, capitalism gone crazy. Like, it just reeks of insincerity, leaning on people's very valid, vulnerable grief. And I don't think that's healthy for you mentally as someone who should just grief naturally. I don't think people can move on probably quite as easily with grief if you think that person's still kind of alive talking to you through a rope. I don't know. Ugh. The whole thing just kind of gives me the ick. And when I heard that on that podcast, I thought, oh no, we're just getting into dark territories with AI, and I'm not here for it. I also genuinely do worry sometimes for the future of like our economy and people's jobs. Like, even that's actually just quite a small example, which I'm sure we can all generally relate to, and we see in our everyday lives now, is whenever you step into a supermarket, it is self-checkout galore. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a self-checkout. It's great to be efficient. It's nice to have your little scanner, boop, 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 and go around the trolley with your weekly shop. And if I want to just get a few bits, yeah, I don't have to stand in a massive queue. I can just scan it myself. Happy days. But to what degree? Like, to what extent where we've just got rid of humans to give them jobs, to keep the economy like, surely it's not doing good things for the economy and growth. If you don't hire people, where are they going to find jobs? How are they going to earn money to pay bills and then put money back into the economy? Like, it just scares me because I feel like you see it so much now. And, you've got things like driverless cars now. Oh, we don't need taxi drivers anymore. In America, they've got this company called Waymo. It's bloody crazy. It's not much different to the stuff that these Tesla cars do. But these Waymo they're called like robo-taxis. And I'm not joking you. It is a full like car that just drives up to you. No driver. It's a robot. It's like catching an Uber without the driver. I'm so sorry. The way I would be literally terrified if I was ever in one of those cars. What if the tech just breaks on you? We all know how unreliable technology can be. Look at the amount of data hacks that we have in this day and age. IT outages. So many of those have happened as of late. Even just this week, I think literally as of yesterday, there's a huge issue going on with Airbus aircrafts because some technology software issue is impacting certain tools on the aircraft so that they're not safe to fly, meaning that a lot of them are now out of service. Like, we all know, even from a very basic level, that technology can and does fail us. And the thought of entering myself into a car who is responsible for the safety of my life and expecting it to just drive safely on the roads and for some kind of camera auto detect system to keep me safe in the result of a potential hazard or a crash. No, I'm so sorry. Like, I just don't know how we've reached this state in our lives. It's hilarious because, like, earlier today when I was putting up my tree and doing my little domestic cleaning, I was listening to one of my favourite podcasts, which is The Rest is History. And it's just a history podcast about all sorts of things, right? And I was listening to some interesting episodes on, like, Henry VIII and Elizabeth I. And, you know, we're going back to the bloody medieval times, like, when they were chopping their heads off and beheading people, and the age of the guillotine. You know, you think back to those times of history and now how we've reverted from that, which, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm glad we don't live in a time where we chop people's heads off with axes. But just how we've gone from that to now full-blown robots are just driving us places now and do everything for us. Like, what? I don't understand this life sometimes, this world. I always think of that Will Smith film that came out in 2004 called I, Robot. I did used to really like that film when I was a kid. Do you guys remember that film? It's all about how he's like, I think, a police detective or something, and the whole story in the movie revolves around a bunch of robots that have taken over the world, and robots are killing humans, and it's literally crazy to think that was like 20 years ago they made that film. Oh, how they have very much predicted the future, because now we have real life robots, like in the iRobot film, inside people's houses. I thought technology was just supposed to be like a fun little advancement that helps us along the way and gives us fun little tools. I didn't want it to go this far, okay? I don't want it to go this far, and I would like for it to stop going further, because how about we just put money and funding and research into maybe like technology that actually helps people? Like, why can't we find a cure for cancer? Do you know what I mean? Like, can we stop funding millions of pounds into driverless cars and how to create a deep fake porn video? Like, it's concerning times, guys. It's concerning times, and I'm not here for it. So, on that note, I have been practically ranting for nearly an entire hour, but I really just wanted to get into the crux of this AI craziness, because I am just perplexed most of the time. I feel like I hear about it so much these days. Everyone's always talking about it. It is always in the news. Is it going to fade away? Is this just a boom? Is it going to fade away into the ether? Are we going to forget about it in 10 years' time? Or will we actually be getting ruled by robots? Will the government become robots? Like, I just don't know at this point. I truly don't know. And I'm slightly terrified. I don't really like the way it's going. I think we're in dangerous territories right now where we've taken it a bit too far. And when you think about these god-awful billionaires like Elon Musk, who is at the heart of some of these technologies, and social media giants and all the rest of it, it's like, girl, maybe we just need to put on the brakes, just like with an actual human foot. Put on the brakes, not a driverless brake, a real brake, and just reevaluate. You know, can we just reevaluate and maybe check that we're not destroying humankind as we already know it? Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Please let me know your thoughts and comments on this. I would love to know if anyone else has these thoughts and opinions. Let's get into it in the comments. Let me know on any of the platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. That is where you can watch and listen to The Weekly Wigs. We are on the run-up now to Christmas, so I've got about 3 more episodes to see us out to the end of the year. Then I will be taking a little Christmas break for the next series, so please do throw me some suggestions on episode ideas for the near future, and I will look forward to chatting and debating and ranting, I'm sure, in the next episode. So have a good one, guys, and see you soon!